Good afternoon and welcome to Croydon Carers live TV programme. Croydon Carers was set up some years ago to provide comfort, support and advice to carers. Carers are people who have responsibility for a relative, friend or spouse who is disadvantaged by illness and other disabilities. We are based at Catherine Street in Croydon, opposite the Town Hall, and we are open between Monday to Friday from 10 AM to 4 PM. We can be reached on 0208 688 7219 or by email at croydoncarers@hotmail.co.uk. We also have a website which is www.croydoncarers.org.uk. In today's programme, our topic will be carers for loved ones who are affected by autism. Our special guest will be Mr. Chris Patterson, who is a volunteer at Croydon Carers and who cares for his son Ian, who has been diagnosed with autism. Autism is a condition that few people really understand. Those who suffer from autism find it difficult to socialise and often display repetitive behaviour. The condition occurs in children when nerve cells in the brain have not developed properly and these cells do not connect with each other in the right ways. This mismatching causes the effects that are displayed. Good afternoon and welcome, Chris.
Hello, Johnny.
Chris is our special guest today and we will be discussing what it's like to have and care for a child who is autistic. Chris, at what age did you discover that Ian had autism and what symptoms did Ian display?
Well, originally, we didn't get the diagnosis till he was 11 years old, but my wife had a friend who was a midwife. She noticed a few things when Ian was very young. We did take him to Mayday Hospital as it then was, and the diagnosis was that he was a bit backward and that he would grow up a normal adult but rather slow. Some years later we saw a programme on television about dyspraxia, which Ian also has, and the general feeling was we could have written the script. It was so close to our own circumstances. So we went to the doctor about it, and the doctor offered us a 3-day assessment at St George's Hospital in Tooting. We went there, had the assessment, and Ian was diagnosed as being on the autism spectrum. He's actually got something called Asperger's.
Yeah.
And also having speech, learning and emotional difficulties as well as his dyspraxia. And that was when we first got our diagnosis. I've actually heard of parents having a diagnosis even later. The record so far is about 15 years old, and I'm sure there's more people older than that who haven't been diagnosed yet.
Right. And were you offered any counselling when Ian was diagnosed?
Yeah, we had a social worker. Also, the council were very good in funding him to go to 3 very good schools, Acorn House, followed by the Lincoln Wellington, followed by the NCYPE Linfield. And we were very lucky there, and while he was there he had all sorts of therapies, and that's my phone there. He had all sorts of therapies, speech therapy, and he also had one-to-one attention the large part of the time he was there.
Right. Did Ian experience episodes of aggression or frustration, and how did you deal with this?
Not much aggression. I think he was frustrated because certainly when he was young he used to be very badly behaved. He also had what we described as a self-destruct thing about him. He would be told he'd have a treat if he was a good boy for a week. For 6 days he'll be as good as gold, and then at the very last minute he'd start playing up. And even today he has a tendency to test new situations to see what he can get away with. But apart from that, not really, no.
Chris, Ian isn't your only child. He has a sister.
He has.
How did she's the first one, how did you manage to care for both of them and split the attention, care?
We had the usual sibling difficulties. She used to put barricades up in the front room so Ian couldn't get in. And we had other difficulties because there were things that Karen, that's my daughter's name, would do that we expected. But if Ian did the same thing, we'd congratulate him. And she used to get quite upset and say, "Why when I do that don't you say anything, Dad? But when Ian does it, you tell him he's a good boy." So we had a bit of jealousy there.
Right.
I wouldn't say they're especially close, but they are clearly very fond of each other. She's very good. If we go on holiday, instead of coming to spend the weekend with us, he'll come and spend the day with his sister instead.
Did Ian join mainstream school? Did he go to a special school?
No, he went to special schools. I said Acorn House, and then the Link, and then NCYPE, and then after that he went to the Fortune Riding Centre in the New Forest.
Okay. And how does the curriculum at the special school differ from mainstream school?
I think it's a lot of it's much the same. The classes are much smaller. I think it was about 8 to 10 to a class.
Right.
Where necessary, one-to-one support was provided. But they did concentrate a lot on life skills like shopping, cooking. At the Fortune Riding Centre, they stayed at one place and school was at another, and they were expected to be ready for the school bus at a certain time, and if they weren't, then of their own initiative, they were expected to arrange for a cab to take them to the school and to pay for it.
And was that a residential school?
Yes, both the NCYP and the Fortune Riding Centre were residential schools.
Okay, and at what age do they leave that school?
Ian left when he was 19.
19, okay. And from then, can Ian join a college or go out to work?
We are trying to get him to get a job at the moment. He has had a few jobs. He worked for a while at Dean City Farm in Mitcham. We tried to get him a volunteer's job at a well-known steam railway concern, and they were rather unpleasant about it. They kept stonewalling us and ignoring letters, etc. He does have a part-time job at the Romney Hytham Church Railway in Romney Hytham Church, but it's a long way away, so we don't go as often as we'd like to.
Is there a special interest in trains and railways?
Ian's always been interested in trains. He's got a photographic memory for railway timetables and the London Underground layouts. And at all of his schools, they used to say, if we want to go anywhere, we just follow Ian. We say to Ian, we want to go here, and he works everything out.
Right. Can I ask, were your close members of family, as in grandparents or uncles and aunties, were they able to support you earlier on? When
well, we had Ian quite late in life. I was 42 and my wife was 39.
Right.
So there weren't that many uncles and aunts around. He was very close to his grandmother when she was alive. And also one of my Uncle John. He was very close to my Uncle John, because John was deaf, and the two of them had a sort of bond between them, and he was really upset when John died.
Oh.
Well, in fact, everyone was. He was a lovely man.
Yeah. I guess that may be one of the treasured memories, as in a close family bond. But is there anything other than that you can mention about Ian that's
I'm not going to tell you the one I told you earlier on. But so he does have quite a sense of humour.
in being autistic.
We're quite rare autistics. Some time ago we went down to Streatham Vale Cemetery where my mother-in-law was buried. And on our way out we passed a number of tombstones of people who were in my age group.
Yeah.
And as we're going out, I'm going, Dad, Dad, Dad. I said, what? He said, waste of time you going home, isn't it?
Oh, he does have a sense of you, I must say. Wow. Chris, do you have any tips that you can offer to other parents or carers out there?
Get to know other parents as quickly as possible. All sorts of reasons. So we learnt there are a number of benefits you can claim as the parents of a handicapped child, and we learn from other parents. The other thing is, it's my experience and a lot of others, when you have a handicapped child, you do tend to feel guilty a lot of the time. You think, oh, why haven't I done more? Why didn't I do this? And it's quite comforting to find the other parents feel the same way.
Yes.
And often with as little cause.
What are the benefits that are available to parents with autistic children?
Well, before we qualified for our state pension, my wife used to claim carers allowance when Ian was at home.
Yeah.
And Ian himself claims invalidity benefits, disability living allowance, middle rate, and he also claims housing benefit because he lives away from home now.
Right, okay. Well, it's been a pleasure speaking to you, Chris.
Thank you, Janet. Likewise, ditto.
And thank you for all that interesting information. If there's anybody out there that would like further information on how to cope with autism, please contact us here at Croydon Carers.